Yo there guys, this is Cobb, and due to popular request I thought I'd go ahead and make a video covering the bulk of my macros. I did make a macro video around a year ago now, but it is pretty outdated and it didn't quite cover things with much depth, so this is going to be an updated version. Don't expect any insane revolutionary macros here, by the way. These are just macros I feel suit me, and that could help out someone who is maybe less experienced with the basics of macros. Alright, so first off I'm going to go through macros I feel are essential to the Warlock class, and I'm pretty sure similar macros can be made on most of the other classes as well. First off, a macro every Warlock should have is the big ass heals macro, and this macro is pretty basic, but important nonetheless. It combines your dark regeneration ability with your health stone, and the reason that this is so important is that dark regen, as well as healing you, increases your healing received by 25% while it is active, so it essentially makes your health stone heal for 25% more. Definitely not to be underestimated. While both abilities can be used separately, I personally would almost never recommend it. They just complement one another so well when used simultaneously. Next up is a pretty standard focus sphere macro, and if you aren't using arena target 1, 2 and 3 macros like I'm not, focus macros are going to be your best friend in arenas, as well as being pretty useful in battlegrounds as well. And like any focus target macro, it pretty much just makes the ability hit your focus target, meaning you don't have to swap off your main target to land it. This is my overcomplicated looking focus spell lock macro for now. Completely ignore the stop casting at the start of the macro. I'm going to be explaining that in just a little bit. I used to swap quite regularly between Grimoire of Supremacy and the Grim of Sacrifice, so I included both spell lock and optical blast into my focus macro. But looking back, I'm pretty sure that all I really need here is the command demon line. Having command demon in there means that when I sacrifice my pet, I'm still going to be able to focus spell lock, because when you sack your pet, the ability you gain in your spellbook is actually called command demon as well, and not spell lock. I'm pretty sure I'm just being overly safe here by including all 3 variations of the silence ability to be triple sure that the macro won't die on me. Now before I show a quick example, I want to quickly explain the /cast Grimoire of Sacrifice at the bottom of this macro and my regular spell lock macro, as you can see right here. I very regularly play with sacrifice, but I start arenas with my pet already summoned. And this is because my pet's spell lock and the spell lock I gain access to after sacrificing it are actually on different cooldowns. So I run with my pet, I can use its silence, and then the /cast Grimoire of Sacrifice in the macro will sack it at the same time, and then I get a new spell lock to use immediately after. It's a really nice trick, and having your macro wired this way just makes it that much easier to take advantage of it. The final macro of immense importance, at least to me, is my mouse over set focus macro. I have this one bound to a mouse button, so it's very easy to use, and it allows me to set and swap my focus target by just hovering my mouse over them and tapping the mouse button. Again, if you use arena target 1, 2 and 3 macros, this one might not be so important, but this one helps me out tremendously, and not only in arenas, being able to easily set an enemy healer as my focus target in a battleground teamfight allows me to chain fears and spell locks in him all day, and it just feels like it gives me such a massive impact and advantage in battlegrounds over opponents who just aren't using focus targeting to their advantage. Next up are mouse over macros. I'm not going to cover them all. I actually have a bunch of abilities that I've turned into mouse overs, meaning to cast the ability on someone, I don't actually have to target them. All I have to do is hover my mouse over their character or their portrait and hit the key, and this is good for basically any ability that you feel might have you swapping targets a lot. Things like Fear, Mortal Coil, Havoc, Spell Lock, Banish, and some other abilities like that. Havoc and Mortal Coil are ones I definitely recommend for Destro locks, in particular being able to coil 2 enemies, and without swapping targets around, with a bit of practice at using the mouse over, just makes things a lot smoother and a lot less clunky. And now for some macros that aren't 100% essential in the game as it is right now, but could be helpful to some people. Quickly glancing back at my spell lock macros, you can see that I have a /stop casting at the start of each of them. And this helps out because if I need to spell lock someone and I'm mid-cast, it will cancel my cast for me, but the main reason I made this macro was for use with Kil'jaeden's Cunning. Kil'jaeden's Cunning pretty much had its balls chopped off some time ago, but it is still semi-viable. However, when you are playing with Kil'jaeden's Cunning and are running around as you cast Incinerate, it is important that you can cancel your Incinerate to cast a spell lock when you need to, and having a stop casting command at the top of your spell lock macros makes sure that anything you are casting is interrupted to prioritize the spell lock. And staying on the topic of Kil'jaeden's Cunning, you need a more general /stop casting keybind somewhere to allow you to duke interrupts. I decided to link my stop casting command to my Curse of Elements. Linking the two up just means one less keybind, and Curse of Elements is virtually off the global cooldown anyway, so hitting it to cancel an Incinerate cast just isn't going to inhibit my gameplay in any noticeable way. This here macro is for when I'm playing with a druid, and it's basically just to cast rejuvenation. I keep it on my bars always so I don't have to drag the rejuve from my spellbook every time a druid uses symbiosis on me. And finally, this is your standard based macro. I wouldn't say it is mandatory, not at least like it used to be. A lot of Warlocks these days do go for the proc trinket rather than the unused, but either way, I still find uses for it even when I don't have my unused trinket equipped. I do have my engineering enchant on my gloves attached to the macro as well, so the idea behind it is simple really, just include everything that increases your damage to the macro and use it to mongo people down when the opportunity presents itself. And that is basically it for my macros. Like I mentioned, nothing hugely complex here, but hopefully there is some food for thought for anyone learning the Warlock class, or is just new to macros in general. I really hope that you guys enjoyed the video. Please do remember to leave a like and a comment behind if you did. Leave any more requests for guides down below as well, and I'll see what I can do. Thanks for watching everyone, stay destro, and I'll catch you all a little bit later.